So, Mr. Speaker, the COVID-19 pandemic has and will continue to have a profound effect on the world economy, and Jamaica is not excluded from that. The pandemic has, caused some amount of dislocation, and the government of Jamaica has responded through various initiatives. On previous occasions, I've given an indication that we will focus our intervention on the vulnerable population in a very targeted way. Having started with a broad-based approach, we want to focus on the vulnerable population. As parents prepare to send children back to school, it is therefore incumbent upon us, and indeed what we're here to announce today, is a program to alleviate some of the pressures that members of the vulnerable population groups in Jamaica face with respect to back to school. So, Mr. Speaker, the COVID allocation of resources to employees program has been expanded to provide a back to school component to children within the PATH and poor relief programs. It should be noted that the government has, over the last 2 years, provided back-to-school grant to PATH students, and for this fiscal year, that grant was programmed at $3,500 per student. Because of the COVID pandemic, Mr. Speaker, the government for this fiscal year will provide an overall back-to-school grant of $8,500 per student at the primary and secondary level who are within the PATH or the poor relief programs to assist with procurement of school supplies as the new academic year commences. In addition, Mr. Speaker, in addition, the government will also provide a grant of $5,000 to every child at the early childhood level within the PATH and poor relief programs. Mr. Speaker, there was no provision for those before. Mr. Speaker, this means that the provision under the CARE program will serve to increase the program PATH amount for students at the primary and secondary levels to $8,500 per student, while providing $8,500 for each primary and secondary poor relief student. And the CARE component will also cover $5,000 per child at the early childhood level from 0 to 6. As we know, 0 to 3, you don't have a book list from the government of Jamaica. 3 to 6, the book list is less than the book list from 6 to 10 and from 10 to 17. Disbursement of the back-to-school grant will be through the regular PATH and poor relief payment avenues during the month of August. This means that the grant to PATH students will be made by the Ministry of Labour and Social Security with the usual PATH bi-monthly cash grant, while the grant to the poor relief students will be made by the Ministry of Local Government and Community Development with the usual monthly payout. It should be noted that where students are on both PATH and on poor relief, the back-to-school grant will be made through the PATH program. Utilization of the PATH and poor relief payment channels for disbursement of the back-to-school grant is a fast means and also implies that the grant will be delivered to the responsible adult registered with each program with whom each student is associated. So, Mr. Speaker, there are over 200,000 Jamaican students who will be benefiting from this program. And the government will be providing a total of $1.6 billion for 203,000 students from early childhood, primary and secondary for our back-to-school program. The back-to-school component of the CARE program will be providing approximately $1 billion of the overall estimated grant. Mr. Speaker, with respect to the Constituency Development Fund, I'm providing this update on behalf of the Most Honourable Prime Minister. The Constituency Development Fund places restrictions on the maximum amount that can be allocated to a program in a fiscal year. As per the CDF's Project Management Unit Operations Manual, dated March 2019, Section 4, subsection 4.8, states that with the exception of educational development projects, which shall not exceed 10 million, ... Given the pressing needs of back to school that has been created by the COVID-19 pandemic, Mr. Speaker, for the current financial year 2020-21, the upper limit for educational development projects will be moved from $10 million per constituency to $12 million, Mr. Speaker. And members will be able, if they so elect, Mr. Speaker, to via unused sums from other programs will be able to via unused sums from other programs to the educational component of the program. Mr. Speaker, by having a national program that targets 200,000 of our most vulnerable students with a $1.6 billion back-to-school education grant, and complementing that with efforts by members of Parliament at the constituency level, who will now have an extra $2 million to be able to set aside from their CDF, times 63, $120 million, to target people in their constituency. This, Mr. Speaker, the government of Jamaica...
Order, please.
The government...
No, on a point of order, Mr. Speaker. Order, please. On a point of order. No, the... Order, please. I wish to hear Mr. Phillips. Yes. In the minister's presentation just now, he's giving the impression that all members of Parliament has $10 million for back to school, and that is not the case. All right? Each member of Parliament has different amounts approved by the CDF committee, already approved. So I don't want the minister's presentation, Mr. Phillips, to give the impression out there that each member of Parliament has $12 million for expenditure for the CDF.
Mr. Speaker, I ask...
Order, please.
Mr. Speaker, I ask members of the member... Yes.
Mr. Phillips, Dr. Clarke, make a statement you wish to seek correction of. What Dr. Clarke is saying, you are seeking a correction of it or an explanation of it. Will you do that without going to the other minister? He's making a presentation. If what he's saying, you're saying is incorrect, please advise the speaker and I can see. Order, please.
I can respond to him, Mr. Speaker. Allow me to respond to him. There's no need for him to repeat it. So, Mr. Speaker.
Members.
Mr. Speaker.
A member has a right to seek clarification.
Mr. Speaker, the member got a little excited. I did not say what you have imputed me to say. No, I wouldn't. I don't need to do that. What I have said is that the maximum amount possible under the CDF rules is 10 million, and we are increasing the cap to 12 million, which means no.
Order, please.
Which means
the member is on his feet making a presentation.
Which means that members members of parliament can increase the amounts, or if they are in that position. Okay. And I'm also saying that members can, the technical word is via, right, by viament, move allocations from other areas to the educational projects. That's what I'm saying. Nothing more. Okay?
But Minister, under the rules of the CDF, a viament cannot take place outside of a CDF committee. So are you saying, what, excuse me? So are you saying that members can via monies outside will be permitted to?
So, no. So what we're saying, member, is that you can via, to the extent that you have that space available, you can via moving funds from other programs to the educational program. Okay?
But is there going to be a CDF committee that will be happening to be able to approve that? So if that is going to be so, can the minister state?
No. What I'm saying to you is that there will be a cabinet decision that will give effect to this, member. Okay? And that I am advised that will suffice until we are able to have that parliamentary meeting to which you refer. Okay? But so what it does is it allows what we have been having is that members have needed to expend more on education this year, and so we're saying, to the extent that you need to, the limit will be removed, and later on, if there is a need to move the cap, we can do so. But moving the cap at this point in time, you can understand, right? It's just not, and I hope you can work with, on this. Moving the cap at this point in time, Leader of Opposition, is not something that is the optics of it, right? So we're doing it in this way. Yes.
While I believe everybody